In October of 1985, Nintendo had every reason to be happy. They had just released their crowning achievement for the Famicom, Super Mario Bros. They had completely dominated the Japanese video game market and were now preparing to do so in the US. At this time, they really had no competition. The Atari 2600 was still around, but it now seemed like an ancient relic compared to the Famicom. However, dark clouds were on the horizon. Ironically, on October 20th, a mere 2 days after the NES's debut in the United States, Sega released their new 8-bit system, the SG-1000 Mark III, later to be known as the Sega Master System. For the first time since the debut of the Famicom, Nintendo had a potential rival. Sega was one of the major established Japanese arcade game designers, and the only one not releasing games for the Famicom. Amazingly, their first home console, the SG-1000 Mark I, predated the Famicom. It was test marketed in 1981. However, the Mark I was never widely distributed and really wasn't that interesting of a system. Not that many games were released for it. However, the Mark III was a whole nother story, as it was technically superior to the Famicom. While still an 8-bit system, the Mark III had a faster processor, better colors, and could more accurately reproduce the current arcade games. To see this, let's take a look at the Famicom version of Space Harrier. Certainly this looks very little like the original arcade game. Now compare it to the Sega Master System version. As you can see, Nintendo should have every reason to be worried by the emergence of this new competitor. As it turns out, Sega never claimed Nintendo's throne, but certainly gave them a good run for their money. Though it is widely considered to be a failure, the Sega Master System actually sold quite well in Europe, Australia, and Brazil, eventually going on to sell around 13 million units. Sega's next system, the Mega Drive/Genesis, was even more successful. In the early 90s, it even ended Nintendo's dominance of the North American market. Sega officially left the home console market in 2001 with the failure of the Dreamcast. However, in 1985, they certainly must have worried Nintendo just a little. The Famicom was no longer the most technologically advanced system on the market, and suddenly they have a rival for video game consumers' money.